Thank you for staying with us. You're watching Checkpoint, and today we are discussing legal issues versus moral issues and whether some of the issues that happen in society should be a matter of law or not. You may remember a story that may have not hit the headlines as many would have expected, when a man said he wants a law that would stone gays. Now, we will get to all of that, but I think that is what stood out. So please send your feedback to me at Yvonne Okwara at KTN Kenya. Please use the hashtag Checkpoint. I'll be looking out for your tweets. If you want to SMS, the number is 22155. Please send in your thoughts and we'll incorporate them in our discussion. With me to do this is Member of Parliament for Kiharu, Irungu Kang'ata, who is also the chair of the Anti-Gay Caucus in Parliament. And right next to him is the man of the moment, some would say, Edward Nyakeriga. Thank you for making the time. He's the legal secretary of the Republican Liberal Party and is behind that proposed law. And right next to me is Eric Gitari, who's a human rights lawyer with the Kenya National Gay and Lesbian Human Rights Commission. Edward, let's start with you. Tell us about the law. Everybody, of course, thinking stoning, and that Bible verse comes to mind. He who is without sin cast the first stone. But tell us, why stoning? And it's only foreigners, we believe?
Thank you for the question. The bill itself is not about the penalty. The bill is very good. It is meant to be a fundamental way of securing our society and from any infringement and intrusion by strange characters, like introducing such characteristics in our society and demeaning ways of life.
Do you believe that the laws in place are not enough? Because there is the acts on sodomy and criminalizing that.
The law that we have in place does not address specifically homosexuality. We have the penal code which deals with the cold city morality issue, but this one is specifically homosexuality. And specifically, if you can look at the level we've gone to introduce some other issues that are not in these other laws. We have actually introduced more than what our penal code has.
Such as?
There is aggravated offenses, such that in homosexuality there is a claim that there is consent. There is, but you can. It is doubtful if consent can be between the attacker and the minor.
Okay.
There can be consent between a master and a servant. Such are aggravated.
Let's understand the stoning bit.
Yeah. The best way to express something is to say it loudly and clearly. The resentment that we have is said in such a clearest way, and the clearest way is stoning. This is strange. We have it. We don't have that. We don't have any memory that such practice started in Africa. This is Africa. We have to maintain, like our preamble, our culture. Yeah.
Okay. Irungu, let's bring you in. You are the leader of the Anti-Gay Caucus in Parliament. What do you think of this law? He says it is strange, it never has been seen in Africa, was possibly introduced by Westerners, and stoning is one of the best ways to express that. Do you agree?
Well, first and foremost, let me say the proposed remedy, in my own opinion, is too harsh. Personally, I think homosexuality is a mental illness, and when you have a situation where you have ill people, you don't stone them, you take them to a hospital. So therefore, I don't support the punishment that is being proposed by the new law. But I think, bottom line, homosexuality and lesbianism is wrong.
it's a mental illness based on what studies? Because there have been several studies that have said it's not a mental issue.
Well, several reasons. When it's come to the issue as to whether it is a mental study, it's a mental issue or not, it is something that is contested. There are some scholars who maintain it is, others don't. I think it is not a settled point of medicine. Be that as it may, I do not oppose homosexuality mainly on that account only. There are several reasons why I do oppose homosexuality.
Okay, and we'll come to you in just a moment to tell us what the anti-gay caucus in Parliament actually does. Eric, you're listening to this. Stoning is a way to express this, and mental illness, psychological, being counseled. What are your thoughts on this new bill?
The new bill is, as a lawyer, very unconstitutional. As a citizen, I think it's an embarrassment to our country, and it's taking Kenya a place that we do not belong. The World Health Organization, if I may appeal to my learned colleague, Irungu Kangatia, removed homosexuality from the list of diseases in 1992. The Kenya Psychiatry Association will tell you the same thing. Mr. Edward, we have worse things to deal with. When it comes to securing our society, I don't think you have concern for what's going on in our country in terms of security right now. I don't think you actually wrote this bill, and I'd want you to tell Kenyans right now who is hiring you as a gun to look for this attention and to do what you're doing right now.
Let me reply on that.
Okay.
No, let me reply on that, because to me that has been one of the most, I would say, absurd argument by the pro-gay lobby. They are trying to argue that my colleague here is being funded outside or by foreigners. Simple.
We are not saying it's foreigners.
No. Well, irrespective, maybe a person in Kenya or wherever. Are you trying to propose that Kenyans support gay in this country? Are you trying to propose that? No. Allow me to finish my argument. One of the reasons why I don't support gayism is simple. I am convinced 90-something% of Kenyans are against gayism. It is therefore dictatorial and unfair when you have a small segment of Kenyans trying to impose their views on the majority. This is a democracy. And if you are doubting as to whether Kenyans support gays or not, we take this issue to the referendum. So,
a democracy,
is this an issue you would be willing to have a referendum
on? If at all someone is trying to purport that Kenyans support gay, by the way, if Kenyans were to say
that is not what
we
you're
Kenyans
purporting.
Support gays, fine with me.
Okay.
We're not purporting that. We're not purporting that. We are saying that a democracy needs to be measured on how mature it is, on how it treats the minority. We could be at 2% in this country, but how this democracy treats us is going to be the measure of how mature we are as a Kenyan state to deal with difference and to tolerate people we do not necessarily understand, but they're part of our citizenry.
Good, thank you.
When you look, let me finish. When you look at the latest research that was funded by the Kenya Christian Lawyers Fellowship or the Kenya Christian Professional League, they say that 40% of Kenyans do not think that the government of Kenya should legislate or deal with homosexuals or homosexuality in any way. So as much as the statistics are there, they are telling because the margin of Kenyans who are very intolerant is reducing and shrinking.
Okay. Edward, I'd like to bring you in on this. He said this is possibly not something from you and you are a gun for hire. Would you like to respond to that?
Unless he has evidence, somebody's gun.
What does Article 7 of this bill propose? Tell me what Article 7 of your bill proposes, if you wrote it.
I wrote the bill.
What does Article 7 propose?
Unless you have the copy, I should not go
I have a copy.
Article by article.
I have a copy.
But all the same, what we are saying is, I'm the one who drafted the bill, and I know what it contains. I know the contents. But all the same,
to educate Kenyans on the proposed law.
All the same, what we are saying, we are a caring society. This is Kenya. We care about family, and there is an aspect of family that will be infringed.
Okay, Eric, let's just take this in a different way. For those who are against homosexuality in the country, they say you are trying to foist your way of life in people's faces, and that And even the law says, for example, the HIV/AIDS Prevention and Control Act expressly prohibits discrimination to persons in same-sex relationships, and that perhaps this is pushing it on a majority of people. Even in the run-up to the referendum in 2010, a majority of the Kenyans said this is not something they wanted, and some people take offense with the gay pride parades and saying, well, we heterosexuals, for example, do not foist their sexuality onto homosexuals, and that perhaps this is something that you are being a bit too aggressive about rather than just lie, live and let be.
The reason there is aggression towards a struggle for equality for gays is because we went ahead and took laws from the colonial government which say that if you lay with person of the same sex, or if you have any intimate relations in the privacy of your bedroom, consenting adults, that's a crime. What this law has done is that it has informed public policy and public attitude towards persons who have the same sex orientation. The reason we try and speak about this thing is to remove the stigma that this law has created, to remove the prejudice that this law has created by criminalizing consensual adult sex in private.
What of those who say, look, it's fine, you can be homosexual, but they are not comfortable with it being in their faces, with the sort of parades and marches that we see, and that, you know, if you want to, and we'll get into the decriminalization of the law in just a minute, why do that if it doesn't seem like there's obvious discrimination?
There is obvious discrimination. The reason that we see parades and marches across the world, they're there to mark a certain significant event. In Kenya, I guess one of the parades that we have seen, or assemblies that we've seen on the streets, is that on May 17th, marking the International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia, Transphobia, which is the day I was telling Mr. Kangatia that the World Health Organization struck down homosexuality from the list of mental diseases. And this is also reflected in the Uganda report that Museveni was sent for by a scientist. But moving forward, we are not actually asking to impose anything or any lifestyle or anyone. People are saying that whatever we want to do in the privacy of our bedroom, we don't want the state to get the microscope inside and ask what we are doing. We don't want to be told how to love and express our love when our love is not hurting anyone and when no one is being forced to get into this love.
Irungu, some say legislating on matters of morality is not the way to go with certain issues. Here's an example. Cheating on your wife is immoral, but it is not necessarily criminal. And that if we start legislating on matters such as that, and who knows, we'll go legislating into a lot of matters that strictly should be dealt with on a moral scale and not necessarily under the law.
That argument is very fallacious for several reasons. Number one, when you look at our statutes, you have so many so-called victimless crimes. And therefore, if you remove his, you can as well remove those other victimless crimes. For instance, we have what we call bestiality, sleeping with an animal. One can argue, no, this is my cow, this is my cat, I can as well sleep with it. We have, let's say, a drug law. One can argue, well, this is my cocaine, this is my weed, I don't see how the state is coming into this thing. We have even things like committing suicide. We have things like disturbing a dead body. One can argue these are issues where there is no complainant, is a victimless crime. I can as well do away with it. But the law looks at the aspect of the public good, notwithstanding there may not be a complainant or a victim. That's number one. Number two, the issue of sexuality is not purely an issue of two people only. It affects society in very profound ways. How? We are here because of procreation. He is here because his mother and father made love and he came into this earth. So it is to the interest of society to protect procreation, to protect reproduction. No, allow me to argue my point.
Okay. All right.
If we were to allow gayism to come into vogue, society may as well face extinction. It may face extinction. For instance, there is no probability of him siring children. He has now died technically. So therefore, no.
Would you like to respond to that?
Okay,
all right. Okay, Rungu, we hear you.
No, look here.
We hear you. We also need Eric to respond and Edward to comment.
He's learned a lot of which in Parliament.
Okay.
Sir, it seems you do not read government policy documents. The National AIDS Control Council releases statistics to the government, showing them, the government, how it has affected policies towards prevention, care, management of HIV in Kenya. Interesting statistics point that 60% of men who have sex with men in Kenya are married and have children. So your argument of reproduction, procreation is flat, a lie. 60% of men having sex with men in Kenya are heterosexual in marriages and have children. 2, the fact that I'm gay does not mean that I cannot have children. I have spermatozoa. I am still fertile.
Okay.
All right? And 3, if you look at evidence and statistics when making laws, you'll be guided to see that internationally, actually a lot of gay and lesbian persons are taking up to care for children through even other ways like
Okay,
IVF.
all right.
Excuse
Eric,
me, one point. The more reason why we should fight gays, because statistics which he is quoting show gays tend to be more promiscuous. If they are more, when you look at a heterosexual and a gay person,
that's not a fact.
Number two, there's a correlation between gayism and drugs. They tend to be more drunk. It is there. It is there.
This is propaganda and lies that is spreading. It is not based. It is not based on any evidence.
We would like you to cite some of these studies that you are talking about, just so that we are sure that we're speaking on the basis of fact, and not, sort of popular opinion.
Propaganda.
All right.
Propaganda.
Okay, Edward, I'd like to ask you. Some would say that stoning gays isn't necessarily dealing with the root cause of homosexuality. That seems to be a shortcut to it. You stone one today, but you haven't solved the problem of if in your mind it is something that can be solved. Aren't there other ways of doing this? I know you are a man of religion. Could it not be perhaps taking a look at the morality of the issue and speaking to them? Does stoning really end the problem for you?
Yeah. What I know is that nobody is interested with a liveless body. It is not in anybody's interest. But look at the effect it has to society. Even in our Constitution, Article 53, there is a tendency, if these people, they have children, if it says that people having a relationship between man and man have children, are they going to expose them to this harmful?
Okay, but does stoning then, you're still not answering my question, does stoning them then solve the problem of homosexuality in your opinion?
I know it is very
deterrent. If you stone one, will it end homosexuality?
I know.
Because it's a matter of feeling, if you understand.
Actually, those people have no reason of committing an offense. And actually, stoning is not a appeal. It is just to deter. It is not actually the interest. That is a penalty, which is not.
And this would be stoning to death. This would be stoning to death. Is that what you're proposing?
We propose stoning to death in public.
Okay. What of the Bill of Rights that says everybody has a right to life?
The Bill of Rights, it is very clear that even the drafters were aware that one wants to enjoy his rights in society. But if you pollute the same society that you want to stay in, will you have a society?
But I think the rights state that you can exercise your rights as long as they do not infringe on somebody else's rights. They infringe on
society, and actually...
Tell us how.
There is the state. The state should protect the family, and if it is infringed, then it means that the rights of the other people are affected, and therefore they should be stopped.
The state should protect family by making sure that we have social welfare benefit, by making sure that families have adequate sanitation, education, protection of family. And I read your bill, sir, and I must tell you, you can do a better job if you're a lawyer. It speaks about the traditional heterosexual family. It's a polygamous family. You're an SDA person. Isn't that against your faith? And number two, when you speak about the state having, or society having rights that are being infringed by these homosexuals, I don't see these rights at all. I want you to tell us what these rights are, because I can't see them.
I can tell you the rights. One, the right to family. Okay. You see, the Constitution, when it talks about family, it clearly states it's about a man, a woman, and of course it goes without saying a children. So to the extent you are trying to propagate something that is antithesis of a family, You are indeed, yes, you are indeed.
What about the
you are
female,
indeed negating.
What about the
right
traditional female-to-female marriages that are allowed?
Good. I love you for that.
I'm not saying they're sexual. I'm not saying they're sexual, but the definition of a family.
Yes.
Yeah, they're not sexual, but the definition of a family negates that.
Okay.
It don't.
Okay.
Female to female. Marriage under the tradition was not sexual. It was a relationship.
All right.
To get children.
What about anthropological and historical accounts of healers in traditional African society who are two-spirited and are known to be homosexuals?
Okay.
No, we don't have such kind of
history. Have you read your history?
We don't have such kind of history.
Because we do oral history.
Right.
Have you looked at the anthropological accounts of the Mugawes of the Meru?
Of course, this is what happens.
The Dagaras in Burkina Faso.
Gentlemen,
what is strange.
This man is a lawmaker who is not being driven by evidence and empirical research to inform the policy that is churning from that house.
Okay.
And it's a tragedy that they are really, really belittling the Constitution of Kenya, because the people who drafted this bill that this man is tabling here are the same people who want to subvert the Constitution of Kenya.
All right. Irungu, I need you to now give us your final comments. We're out of time.
We take it to referendum. You win.
We're not asking
we support it.
Because the Attorney General, when you proposed the decriminalization,
and this
gentleman.
Thank you.
Gentlemen,
Irungu,
I know it's getting heated, but when the AG responded to your petition to decriminalize it, said that perhaps it should go to Parliament. Is this something that Parliament would be willing to discuss?
Well, to us, the position is the current statutes which are there are sufficient. So therefore, to that extent, I may disagree with my
All
friend.
right. Edward, sorry, I'm so sorry. We need to cut you off because we're running out of time. Edward, your final comments on this one, and if you were to meet Eric somewhere, would you stone him to death? Oh, sorry, it's only for foreigners, isn't it?
No, not even that. It is through a judicial process. It is not, the public will be educated that nobody should stone another. It is through a judicial process.
Okay. So they'll follow the due process of court, be convicted, and then stoned to death. Yeah. Eric?
I'm very confident in our constitution, in our republic. I'm very certain that this bill will not pass in this country. And I have a lot of confidence in our parliament and in the institution that we have created in the constitution. And I hope for the very best. I have a lot of faith in that. And two, for the people who are watching, who feel afraid because of the stone threat, I want to assure everyone that Kenya is a good country to live in, to thrive in, and to be of realizing their full potential.
Irungu, just very quickly, as the chair of the Anti-Gay Caucus, will this bill see the light of day in the House?
No, for that reason that it is proposing something that for us we think the current statutes are enough. But we strongly believe so long as Kenyans still don't support gays, it should not be thrown into our throats. Unless
gentlemen, I wasn't starting the conversation all over again.
I have spoken to more than it is about 78 MPs, and out of those, about 2 said they will not support it. I don't know that the number 78 will increase or go lower. I have a list somewhere.
All right, we will wait and see how this one goes. Gentlemen, thank you so much for making the time to be with us in studio. I will be sampling some of your views. Lukoye Atwoli, thank you very much for your tweet. You wrote an article actually in a local daily today. You say your panel clearly exemplifies my argument. If you didn't read Lukoye's article, please take a look at it for more insights into that. More of your feedback on Checkpoint and also Mock the Week after this break.